All right. What's going on, fam? Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. How's everybody
Long time
doing?
no see, my dude. I haven't seen
I
you
know. How
forever.
are you? My goodness. Just
I'm
looking at
great.
you, I could tell that it's Friday. You're just glowing. You've just got this Friday thing going on, man. You look fantastic. The hair and everything. You look
You know what
great,
I
man.
was?
How you been?
Thank you so much. You know what I was? I was a little bit upset. I won't lie. Do you want to know
Uh-oh.
why?
Was it
We
my
didn't
hair?
do. No, it's relevant though. We didn't do our pre-hair check before TGIF today.
We didn't. You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's been a busy morning. Tax, people, deals. I mean, my goodness. It's been a busy morning. I was hoping as I was getting my, you know what? How's my hair looking today? Is it looking all right?
It's looking suave,
I'm
dude.
having a good hair day today, man.
Like you can't
Woo!
even tell that you were in the military anymore.
Oh
That's
my
just
gosh.
like long and gone.
Oh my goodness, man! I love it. I love it. I love where we're heading with this. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here, Derek Witten, bro. Love you, bro. Thank you. Thank you for being here. What is this? My flippin' 50s. I don't know who that is, but we are glad that you are here. Thank you. Thank you for spending some of your Friday, well, I guess morning if you live in Alaska or if you're on the Pacific time, an afternoon to everybody else. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Sean Clark, I see Sean Clark's in here. What up, dog? Terry Hinneker. I'm so proud of this gentleman. Let me just take a couple seconds and give a huge shout out to Terry, his crew, Mindy, Michelle, the gang, man. They invited me. They blessed me with the opportunity to jump on a Zoom with them this morning. And we got to talk about a deal that they are working. And it was neat to kind of go through some scenarios with them. It's a seller finance deal. The deal is being ran through an agent, and the agent is open to presenting that offer to the sellers. And I had the blessing of being able to hop on a Zoom with him and his accountability group, and I kind of just walk everybody through what that should look like and how the conversation goes. And, you know, it was neat to be able to get their feedback, because I think when it comes to creative financing, a lot of people think that pitching things to either an agent or a seller is this thing where you just got to sell it. I think a lot of people have a really big misconception, including myself at one point. I'm not picking on anybody. I think we all think about like sales in a certain way. You know, I at least for me, Carlin, when I used to think about sales, I used to think about the first thing I thought of was going to a freaking car dealership. And I was like, oh my gosh, those guys, I hate sales. Like all they do is pressure you. And it's like this big tactical thing that there is this big production. And I just absolutely hated it. And so being able to run through some of those scenarios with them and be able to get their feedback on what the takeaway was from that conversation. And it was neat for them to be able to hear back what they now know versus what they thought it was. So if you guys want some clarity on how to pitch creative to a seller and the agent, go hit up Terry. Terry will fill you in on all the deets. I love what he's doing. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for taking action, man. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for being here. So we got Alan in here as well. Alan, I had the opportunity to give Alan a hug just like I wanted to. And we got to meet each other in Vegas. Do I look any more tan to you at all by chance, Carlin?
Yeah, bro. I got on here and was
Naturally.
like, whoa. Holy cow.
You really know how to make a gal blush. We had a great time. We had a great time in Vegas. We were just missing you. We had an amazing mastermind. Carlin, I have never seen anything like what happened in Vegas. At any business event, any meetup, even anything in real estate, I have never freaking seen or witnessed anything like that. That was 10 times better than I thought it was going to be. And I was putting it on.
So
it was absolutely insane.
I actually, ironically, Jesse, that's what I wanted to get into today, because alas, even though I was not there and I could feel it in my bones that I missed everybody so much. Like everyone, I kept seeing everyone's posts. I kept seeing pictures. I saw videos. I saw the insane amount of mileage that Jean ran while she was in Vegas. Like I was seeing all of it. And I was living vicariously through you guys because I'm so bummed that I got to miss it, but I was actually off in a workshop myself. And so I really wanted to hit home on that specific topic today of why these
Mm,
kinds of events
yeah.
are important, why networking is important, why expanding your education is important, because we I myself included, we spend a lot of time getting education through Zooms and through YouTube and through, you know, podcasts and stuff like that. But getting to be in the room with the
Yeah.
people that you've been connecting with,
Hmm.
it's just a completely different ballgame. When getting to be in a room with people you've never met and getting to understand their perspectives and their stories,
Yes.
I really wanted to hit home on that specific thing today
Hmm.
because even though I was living vicariously in Vegas through you guys, my experience and what I was working on not only made me grow as a person, but it's helping the business grow. And you can do all the things you want to do online and on the web,
Hmm.
but getting to feel that energy and feel that momentum is just it was such a transformative experience.
Well, for everybody who doesn't know, thank you for that. The only word that I can use to describe what happened at that mastermind is the word magical. It was man, I don't even have the words for it beyond that. For everybody who was there, you guys know, you experienced it. It was transformational to say the least. I think transformational would be an understatement. But man, it was super cool. And for everybody who doesn't know, Carlin, like we're gonna have you at this next one. But what were
Mhm.
you doing? Contrary to
My
popular belief, guys, Carlin what didn't just stay at home tending to her chickens and roosters.
I have to
She
get rid
wasn't
of my
saving the
second
bees.
rooster. Got to get rid of the roosters. Neighbors are complaining now. No, I was actually in Florida. So all of that exciting stuff you saw about Florida flooding and the obscene amount of rain that that state got last week, I was actually getting to experience that real time. So my
Wow.
my New Mexico desert ass experienced an amount of rain that I've never seen in my life. But aside from that, I was actually at a Grant Cardone workshop with
Ooh,
our
Uncle G.
marketing. Yeah, Uncle G, dude. I was unfortunately he got stuck in Tampa because of the rain. So we got to see him through the Zoom. It wasn't what I was expecting, but the event itself was tenfold what I could have ever imagined. So
Wow.
I flew out to Florida, I flew out to Miami.
Mhm.
Our marketing manager Haley actually flew out from New Hampshire and met me there. So we kind of tra-la-la along and experienced a whole different ballgame of what we were expecting.
Wow. I was living vicariously through you guys as well. I think Carlin, I think you and Haley were trapped inside a public bathroom, and all I could see in the video was just it's like somebody turned on the tub faucet, man, and it was just downpouring.
That was, dude, that was crazy. That was so crazy because I was like, so let me just side quest here for a second. We were at the beach. Okay, I personally was looking at the world as a giant bathtub in this experience. I was like, okay, the water's filling up. I like baths. Yay, this is fun. And then the lightning started happening. I was like, oh, we've thrown a toaster into the mix. Okay. So I ran under the pavilion. Haley and I sprinted to a pavilion, and we're sitting under this pavilion, just like watching the water. And there's a volleyball court, like uh, maybe like 20 yards away. So I'm watching this volleyball court slowly disappear underwater. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, this is a little bit more than I was
Yeah, you
expecting.
don't see this in New Mexico.
Yeah, I was like, oh wow, okay, all right, we're just a lot of water. That's okay. We're okay. And then lightning struck, and I
Mhm.
don't know if anyone else has ever experienced this, but when lightning strikes close to you, it pops. And so the lightning struck, heard a pop. I was like, oh crap. we're by trees. Trees, lightning, water, all a really bad combination.
Yeah.
So we sprinted into this public bathroom, and at this point, we have a guy in whom we named Florida Man. And so Florida Man's like kind of giving us the rundown. He's like, "Yeah, this is really unusual. We don't usually get this amount of rain." We're like, "Oh, that's not very reassuring. I don't."
Yeah.
And so he's going back and forth under the pavilion, coming and checking on us, making sure we're okay. Or my spidey senses start tingling. As he
Yeah.
starts asking us questions, he's like, "Oh, where are you guys staying?
You're
Where?"
in Miami. Yeah, this is
Yeah. And so
Hmm.
he's asking questions. So it's like, "Okay, Haley, we got to go now." And so we're like, "Okay, Florida Man, so great seeing you.
Oh
Lovely.
my
Thank
gosh.
you. We're going to go."
Yeah, don't
So
follow us.
yeah, so we start sprinting. And by this time, the rain is coming down sideways, the lightning's booming, like the thunder's roaring, and the water is literally halfway up my legs. Like it's like almost to my knees at this point. So I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Okay, we're running,
gosh.
we're running, we're running." And I look back and Haley's gone. I was like, "Oh crap." So I duck under a carport. I duck under like a building and I turn around and I start screaming. I'm like, "Haley, Haley, Haley." And this lady pops out. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not.
Oh my gosh, man.
Thank you so much for asking." She's
I
like,
feel
"No,
like this is
well,
like a version. I feel like this is like Taken 4 with
yeah, it's
except without Liam Neeson.
dude, Liam Neeson would have been so proud of my spidey senses though. But so this wonderful woman, her name's Kyla. My phone is dead, Haley's phone is dead. We don't like we're like still a block away from our Airbnb. The water's flooding, people are walking through the streets in rain boots. Like this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And and so we duck under this carport. I turn around, find Haley, and so we're standing under there on this little slab of cement where the water is not reached yet,
Yep.
trying to just kind of like figure out what we're supposed to do. Like, okay, crap. And this wonderful woman named Kyla, she says, "Well, why don't you guys come in for a second? You can charge your phones. I'll get you guys some water."
Wait,
I was
like
like,
this is into her house?
yeah, she invited us into her house, which ironically, she's on the phone with her mom. And her mom's like, "What are you doing? Why are you letting strangers in?" And she's like, "No, no, it's okay. It's two women. Like they're stranded. They're not from here." So she's on the phone with her mom. Her mom's freaking out because she just let two strangers into her house. Haley and I are sitting there like, "Okay, well, we met Florida Man. Probably couldn't get much worse than Florida Man."
Did you ever see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre by chance?
I
This is
avoid that movie.
exactly what happened. Hey, come
No,
on in.
no, so I actually I got Kyla's phone number and we're still in communication. She actually ended up being a really nice person, but she gave us some water, let us charge our phones enough. We sat and watched the water rain down, waited for the rain to stop, and then we trekked the rest of the way to our Airbnb. But it was just like this whole situation. I was
Gosh.
it,
Wow.
it it was either go into the stranger's house or get electrocuted on the street, kind of like a coin toss here. So so that was day one of Miami. The second day we actually got to go and kind of explore. Our event got moved to virtual because where we were was actually where the less flooding was happening. Where the
Yeah.
Cardone event was happening,
Mhm.
people were like wading through waters with their suitcases above their heads. Like it was this whole thing. And then the third day we finally got to go in person and we went to this event. They had awesome food. The experience was just I can't even describe the the caliber of being in that room. Like leading up to that event, I was like, okay, Miami, you've kind of thrown a curveball at me. What else can I expect here? But we got into this event and this guy was speaking. We're taking notes. Everyone in that room, there were people that were in the agricultural industry. There were people from HVAC. There were people in sales and marketing. There were people in real estate. There were just so many different kinds of people. And to see everyone come collectively to this one spot to experience something together was just tenfold what you'd expect.
Wow. Interesting. What an event. And that was just one day.
Yeah, it was crazy. But Haley and I think we had a good time. Like I would 10 out of 10 do it again.
All right, I love that. We'll have to bring a little bit to that to our next mastermind. We'll have to figure out a way to work that in somehow.
Yeah, flooding changes the experience.
It sounds like, well, I'm glad you two made it back home safe and sound and in one piece.
No kidnaps, no electrocutions. We're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thankfully we didn't have to get Liam Neeson on the phone.
He probably would have been ready. And we were stateside, so it would have been an easy mission for him.
Well, ours was a little I don't know if we had anything that crazy happen to us in Vegas. Although there were some talk about, maybe pulling a what's that called? Like an Ocean's 14 or something like that,
I was gonna stand and swap meet, but
getting
I mean
Brad
that works
Pitt and
too.
George Clooney back in. Maybe we go hit the MGM or something like that. I don't know. There were some talks about it, but I think everybody decided, hey, you know what? Let's save that for the next one. Let's stick with real estate on this one. Let's make the hit, our job that we do. Let's make that one real estate focused. We'll go hit the MGM on the next trip.
Huh, bummer.
So,
I mean, I heard Vegas has
something
sharks.
to look forward to.
Dude.
Say what?
I said I heard Vegas has sharks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so much to say. I mean, honestly, what we probably ought to do, actually, you know what? Shoot me a text if there's anybody in here right now that went to Vegas that would love to come on as a guest. We'd love to have you on. Maybe we'll do that next week for next week's podcast. We'll have like a debrief on what we went over in Las Vegas. Maybe get maybe we'll get a couple people. So if there's anybody watching right now that went to Vegas and would love to come on as a guest and just share what you learned and how you grew and some of the things that you experienced through that, I think that would be awesome. So that other people can who weren't able to make it can take that and learn and grow together. So shoot me a DM if there's anybody that would be willing to do that. Let's shoot for next week. Let's do like a Vegas debrief. I think that would be great.
Dude, that sounds wonderful. So through the midst of everything, and even still now, I'm seeing posts come up where, you see all these people just hanging out, talking. I know Zach Bush and Nathaniel and Britt were hitting the gym together. It was so cool to see so many people from so many different paths and walks of life come together. And they're just like, hey, you're my person. Let's go learn some things and let's learn them together.
Yeah. It was pretty powerful to say the least.
Britt, I'll have to talk with
Brittany.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, please let him know. Please let him know. Yeah, and the Vegas chat is still hopping, like Derek said. Wow.
Dude.
What an amazing thing. So let's kind of bridge the gap a little bit here for a second. We talked about the event. We talked about the shenanigans that you and Haley encountered. Ours was mostly real estate focused. There wasn't any MGM robberings, no strippers and cocaine or anything like that, at least that I knew of.
I didn't see any strippers or get any cocaine.
Yeah, that'll again, next trip. Next trip. That'll be a next trip thing. So what do we want to go over today? Let's kind of kick this off. Let's kind of bridge this gap. I know you said that this was kind of a great segue into today's topic, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, dude, it truly is, because networking is something that goes hand in hand with these events. Like, could you imagine showing up to an event with people of so many, like such a high caliber, so much energy, and you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit in this chair. I'm not gonna talk to anybody. I'll be fine over here. Like, could you imagine doing that? Like, you spend so much money, you commit so much time out of your life to go to this huge event, go to this thing where people have prepared, planned all of these cool different things for you, and you just show up and you're like, yeah, I don't think I want to talk to anyone today. Like, I think two of my favorite things are meeting new people and learning new things. And to take both of those and put them in the same package, like, for me as an extrovert, I'm on cloud nine. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting some education. I'm here with these high caliber individuals. I'm here with this energy, this momentum, and someone's going to teach me some cool shit. Like, I don't know how it gets much better because I don't know about you, Jesse. I personally have spent a lot of time on YouTube University, and I can take as many notes as I want,
Hmm.
but those notes don't mean anything if you don't know how to implement them. And 9 times out of 10, you're taking notes on the internet. You're not going to know how to implement them. So you take
Hmm.
all these people, put them in a room, and everyone's going to be drawing different information.
Hmm.
Something that stands out to me probably won't stand out to you. But the best part about networking is trading that information. So I'm going to be like, hey, Jesse, I saw this cool thing about the star, and there was a thing here, and a thing here, and a thing here, and here, and here. And this is how I interpreted it. And you're going to be like, oh, cool, Carlin, I saw the star too. But here, actually, this is the way I perceived it. And it gives you the opportunity to trade perspective, but it also gives you the opportunity to teach what you learned to someone else, which is really where all of that information comes into play. That's where you're really going to get that into your head.
Mm.
So for me, like, these events are just like heaven on earth. Doesn't
So
get much
you're
better.
in a room where you're around other high caliber individuals. You're getting around. I think first and foremost, I think it says a lot when you go to an event like that of the individuals in the room. Because the hardest part, what most people will not do, is make a decision. They will not choose. A lot of people start to think about, well, what if I fail? What if this isn't for me? I don't know if I'm worthy of this success. I don't know if I'm worthy to be in that room. I'll tell you right now, there's been plenty of times where I've jumped into rooms with people and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like if these people knew where I was, like they would kick me out. I feel so unworthy of being in this room. And I think it
So
says so much about despite having those feelings. And maybe some of you guys had those feelings in Vegas as well. Maybe some of you guys were looking at that room like, wow, if anybody knew where I was in my business in this room. Like, and it's funny because we all have those thoughts. We all think that, that we're the only ones that don't have it figured out, that everybody else has it figured out. Everybody else is going to judge us for not knowing the thing. But when you jump into those rooms, it says so much about you as an individual and the things you're willing to do to get to where you're trying to go. And that's the exact same mentality that everybody else shares in those rooms. Whether you're a rookie Michael Jordan, whether you're like a 1988 Michael Jordan or you're a 1998 Michael Jordan, like the fact that you're showing up as Michael Jordan doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether or not you've done your first deal or purchased a 300 unit apartment complex. It doesn't matter. It's all about the mindset. It's about the things that you are willing to do. And like you said, Carlin, when you're in a room like that, as if it's not enough to just get that information and have it amplified because you're in that room, but when you're writing it down, and then probably the most important part of that entire thing is to turn it around and share it with somebody. I think that's one of the best things. It's funny. That's one of the biggest habits I've gotten into. Is anytime I learn something new, the very first thing that I do is I will turn around and I will go teach it to somebody else. Because then they're going to ask me questions like, "Oh, Jesse, that's interesting. What about this and what about that?" And I was like, "My gosh, I don't know. Let me go find out. Let me go get that information for you." And it allows me the opportunity to understand it on such a deeper level than I otherwise wouldn't have. I love the fact that you pointed that out, like teaching it to somebody else, getting information, walking away from an event like that, and purposely going and teaching it to somebody else. You will understand it at a level that you would not believe.
it's it makes all the difference. It really does, because not only does it solidify what you know, but like you pointed out, it brings up things that you didn't think about. So you're like, "Oh, it sparks curiosity. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Let me go learn that." Interestingly enough, the concept where this first came into my life was when I was a pistachio tour driver. And I was responsible for taking these people out, showing them a pistachio orchard. And the most interesting people, always, I'm not even kidding you, were the corn farmers. The corn farmers would come on this pistachio tour and they would have the most obscene questions. They'd be like, well, what's the pH of the soil that the pistachios grow in? And you're like, that wasn't in my script. I don't know. Let me
What
go
a thing?
learn.
Do soils have pH levels?
Yes.
No, I know.
if
I'm being
that's sarcasm.
sarcastic.
I was like, I don't know if that's sarcasm, but the answer is yes. but it solidifies that information. It not only allows you to provide a service for someone else, but it invokes curiosity in yourself. And everyone's like, oh, curiosity killed the cat. No, it didn't. I love being a curious person. I'm still alive. Didn't get hit by lightning. Curiosity is such a wonderful thing. And when someone else can inspire that in you, that's doing yourself and them a service.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just absolutely love these events because you get to learn so much from each other. You get to trade so much information. You're teaching things and you're learning things. Give me a lottery ticket.
And stack the odds in your favor.
Yeah. What? That's like a twofold. That's like a tenfold. I'm like the luckiest duck alive at that point.
I did a live yesterday. If you guys haven't watched the live, make sure you go back into the Growth Co Facebook group and watch that live. It was a very good live. And one of the things that I talked about in there was when you're talking with people, when you're networking with those individuals, we create opportunity. Opportunity is created through intentional action. Opportunity is not one of those things where you go to, like a lot of people, here's what a lot of people do, Carlin, is they jump into a Zoom and they jump into loads of Zooms or jump on calls with people and then just hope that somehow something magical happens. And if it doesn't, it's like, okay, that's cool. I met this one guy in Alaska, weird hair, and then I'm going to jump into the next call. Or they attend live events or masterminds. And they go in there with zero expectations. They go in there with zero intention, zero clarity of why they're even there or who they're going to talk to or what they even need. And one of the things I brought up when talking with people is I love to know what the bottleneck is in their business. Because when I ask that question allows me to find the opportunity to serve them. The more people you can help get what they want, the faster you will get what you want. Some of you guys have heard me say this before. Some of you guys will continue hearing me say this, and it'll take another year before it clicks. Like the more people you figure out how to serve, the faster you help these people get what they want, the faster you'll get what you want. And one of the best ways to find out what that is, the first step in creating opportunity is asking that question. You got to ask better questions. So one, you find out what the bottleneck is in their business. And then number two, I like to also ask what's going right? What's going well in your business? What are you guys doing right? Because then it gives me the opportunity to learn. And what happens at the same time is it gives the opportunity to the other person to teach. So they are understanding what's going right and what's going wrong by me provoking those questions. And a lot of times that's where collaboration and opportunity comes in. That's where synchronicity comes in. It's like, oh my gosh, we got it. So if you guys haven't watched that live, make sure you go back and watch that live from yesterday. We dove deep really into into how to build relationships and networking and asking these thought provoking questions. But it so ties into what we're talking about right here when it comes to getting information and then being able to teach it back to somebody. It's the fastest way. I will tell you, you know what, Carlin? When I first got into real estate, when I first joined Sub 2, this was over 4 years ago now. My goodness, this has happened really fast.
Jeez, Grandpa.
I was thanks. I was telling my wife yesterday, I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna go put some highlights in my hair or something. Cause people ask, like, Jesse, did you get some highlights? And I'm like, no, it's just gray. So you can't call me that anymore because I'm gonna go get some highlights and there's gonna be no more gray in my hair.
Dude, I keep telling you, silver is in.
Not for somebody in their 30s.
Away. People our age are dyeing their hair
No,
silver
dude, I don't
left
need to
and
be a
right.
Steve Martin or a Richard Gere in my 30s. Like I've got another 15 years before that happens.
You're neglecting the power of the gray, my friend.
Oh my gosh. That's what Alex said too. Anyway,
Women
neither
neglect-
here nor there. Sean said frost the tips. Dude, I'm gonna go straight
Backstreet Boys?
JT, man. I'll go straight JT. I dig it.
I digress.
Justin,
Sorry.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Sub 2.
Oh, sub two.
When you first joined Sub 2 4 years ago.
What were we talking about before that?
What we were talking about before that was networking, education. We went over.
Oh, that's right. So, right when I joined Sub 2, as a lot of you guys know, I was an instructor in the Air Force. So I had a class every single day that I was teaching. And one of the things that I ended up doing, this I didn't cognitively do this. I didn't intentionally know this. I didn't really know a whole lot about this. But what I ended up doing was I would go home and I would consume a bunch of content. I'd start learning a lot about debt and money and creative financing and real estate and just all these different strategies. My mind, probably similar to a lot of you guys, man. Like my mind was just like, I couldn't even sleep. I was having so many ideas. I was just so overwhelmed and filled with excitement and just abundance and just the thought of potential opportunities and what the future would hold. And so by the time I got to work, obviously, I was super excited. And I had this class. And every time that we would finish up early or we would go on break or something like that, I'd say, hey guys, do you guys want to learn about money? Do you guys want to learn how to leverage your VA loan appropriately? Do you want to learn how you can pay a 30-year mortgage off in 4 to 7 years without paying more? There's all these different strategies. And I was like, that I was learning. I was like, my goodness. So it allowed me the ability to go home to learn this stuff, pencil it out, and then go to work the next day. And when we were on breaks or when we finished up early, I had this entire whiteboard where I could draw all of these things out and help all these people understand what wealth really looks like and how they could generate, how they could walk away. Because we got people that are up here that are get stationed here in Alaska that are here for like 4 years. And if they bought a house when they first got here, me showing them how they could potentially buy their or pay their house off in 4 to 7 years, a 30-year mortgage without getting a raise, without doing all these things. I started walking them through how that would work. They were like, oh my gosh, like I could make like how many people are coming up here, getting stationed up here, buying a house, leaving 4 years later and not walking away with really much. And what you're showing me, I could walk away with almost $250,000 in 4 years. Like, how come nobody's talking about this stuff? But you know what, Carlin? Me teaching that to those students, how fast do you think that increased my education and my learning curve? How much faster do you think I started seeing other opportunities? As I had students that were active duty military, they started coming up to me and asking me questions. So not only was I solving problems in my own business, but I started to try to figure out how to solve problems for what they were trying to do as well. And it just, and then I would teach the entire class. So my learning curve just went like this. So when I say, and when Carlin says, to get out here, when you come back from an event, when you leave a podcast, when you jump off of a Zoom, if the first thing you're not doing is going and finding somebody that you can teach this stuff to, you're only letting yourself down. It shouldn't be seen as like a good idea or, hey, I hear what Jesse and Carlin are talking about. I've heard people talk about that before. That makes sense. You shouldn't just hear that and then leave it at that. If you really want to increase your capability, your skill set, because not to go off on a huge tangent here, but your skill set is a direct reflection of the income that you have, the caliber of skills that you bring to the marketplace as a direct reflection to the money in your account. If you don't know how to effectively communicate something, if you don't know how to effectively teach some of the things that you're learning, then your level of understanding is going to be very, very shallow. It's going to be very surface level understanding. Yeah, you might understand what subject to is. Yeah, you might understand, theoreticals and things like that. But until you understand it at a deeper level by teaching it, you're not going to allow yourself to be in a position to go implement it. It's not a good idea. It needs to be seen as a non-negotiable. Why do you think people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, like all these people, just sit there and read? Because they generate an idea and then they go find somebody else to either talk about it with or to teach it to. They'll bring it to a team meeting and they'll start to dissect it and implement it together. That's how these things are done. This whole concept of teach to learn needs to be implemented. It is something that Carlin and I implement in our cohorts, in our mentorship. Because the things that we teach is so above and beyond I've never seen anybody else teach what we teach, at the risk of sounding arrogant. It is such a different way of thinking. It is very transformative. And there's so much information involved with it that in order to retain it beyond just a service level and understanding it conceptually, we mandate that every single week people go teach this stuff. So when you're coming from these events, you need to make sure that the notes you're taking, the things you're writing down, you guys are taking action on. You guys are taking the opportunity to go teach this stuff.
Aside from all of that, teaching it is tenfold more exciting than learning it. I
agree.
just want to put that one on the table. Like when you start processing it, you just slowly start building this momentum. You're like, oh man, it's clicking, it's coming, it's there. It's like right there at the forefront of your mind. It's kind of like being a kid the first time you walk into a candy shop. You're just like, holy crap, there it is. And for me, at least for my personal experience, I love learning the information, but it's even more exciting when I get to turn around and share it. Like, I cannot tell you how excited I was. Like, I loved the workshop that I went to in Florida. It was amazing. But what was even better was just sitting there going, oh man, I gotta tell Jesse about this. I can't wait to do this for this. I can't wait to do this.
Dude, you and Haley came back and started
great.
teaching me.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun because then you get to see other people's ideas light up. Everything I'm teaching you, again, you're going to have a whole different perspective. You're going to have a whole different way of thinking about it.
Right.
And that's where the masterminding comes into play. That's where the exciting things come into play, because once you start teaching someone, their little light bulbs are going to start going off. And all of a sudden you have this bright room. Everyone's lit up. Everyone's on fire. And everyone's got so many different ideas. So it goes back to what you and I used to say. Okay, we're just going to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And if you aren't teaching people anything, then you're just going to be throwing a lot of shit at the wall and none of it's going to stick.
Napoleon Hill talks about this exact same thing, Carlin. And I think you know this, but for everybody else who doesn't know, our real estate business, Our business name, our LLC name is Third Mind REI. That concept came from Napoleon Hill. Third Mind REI. It came from a concept inside the book called Think and Grow Rich. And there's a section in there where it talks about the mastermind principle. Let me read this to you guys. This is exactly what Carlin's talking about right now. The mastermind principle is defined as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people who work towards a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony. No two minds ever come together without creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind. So by two people coming together and sharing ideas, sharing what they're learned, teaching each other, creating that atmosphere with that kind of synergistic effort and energy, you inevitably end up creating things that are and having ideas that are likened to having a third mind between the two of you. It's incredible. And Karin, you mentioned the word atmosphere in there. And I love that atmosphere. It's so important. It's so vital to have that atmosphere because it creates that synergy. It creates that energy. It creates that vibrational frequency to allow for these things to manifest, to allow for these ideas and things to come to fruition. You know, I feel one of my favorite parts, Carlin, of growing up was when I was going on a field trip.
Yeah.
Dude, you know, the 24 hours before I was supposed to get on that field trip, like it was fun. I was on cloud 9, man. Like for 24 hours prior, I was planning the day before. I was planning. I was trying to figure out what Guns N' Roses t-shirt I was going to wear for my field trip. I was figuring out what CDs. Do you ever have like the book of those that big ass book of CDs?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was rummaging through my dad's Van Halen and Metallica records. I'm like sniping them. I'm putting them next to my Britney Spears and Janet Jackson CDs. And I have my music ready. I have a Discman. I got my Discman ready. I was so happy when I got a net. You remember the 5-second anti-skip Discmans? Weren't those amazing?
With extra batteries, always had the extra batteries.
Always had extra batteries. Dude, I will tell you something. When they came out with the ability to plug the adapter to plug 2 headphones into one Discman.
Oh, dude.
I was like, dude, total game changer, man.
You don't have to share a headphone and sit like
yeah. Yeah, man. Everyone on the bus sharing a headphone listening to Slim Shady or Rob Zombie. Man, that atmosphere that was created from knowing that we were about to do something big, that we were about to embark on a journey that we hadn't before. To be able to see how myself and my group of friends came together. And it's like, okay, you get this CD. Hey, this person's got the Discman. This person's gonna get a Discman too. But hey, I've got the headphone jacks. We're getting our girlfriends involved. It was always a great sesh to move the relationship a little bit further by sitting next to each other on the bus. We get a few hours of bus time together with no teachers, and man, it was just great. What a great freaking atmosphere. And as we become adults, we tend to neglect the ability to recreate those synergistic and energetic and abundant and loving and just thought-provoking atmospheres that are just so vital to a business, let alone a mastermind or attending any kind of an event. What are some of the things that you have found beneficial for you, Carlin, in helping creating those atmospheres?
Are we talking in person or virtually? Because in person, that atmosphere just comes. When you get into when you actually step into that room and you're seeing people, like with the event that Haley and I went to, I was like the infant in the room. I'm looking around, these people they've got businesses for 30 years, 40 years. Some people have like, 10 years of experience under their belt. And I'm sitting here looking around going, who do I need to talk to first? Who am I going to go for? Who's my target? Who's my victim here? Because I love being the one on the lowest level in the room. That gives me so much opportunity. But I love walking in and just seeing the excitement. I love seeing the buzz, people looking sharp, people collaborating, talking, and you're standing there looking around and you're like, that's the person I'm going to go talk to. There it is. You feel their energies. You can just sense it.
Yes.
In Zooms in particular, I personally am just a naturally high energy person. And I think you and I really bounce off of each other really well in that aspect. Because as soon as I get in and you're hyped, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Who are we fighting? And it's just so much fun when you get to see people collectively come in. So my favorite thing is I just like getting myself pumped. Like I love, especially with like TGIF, I love our hair ritual. I love when we come in, we're like, your hair look good? Your hair looks
Yep.
great.
Hair and makeup.
Yeah, like
Yep.
having a ritual, having a routine, having something that gets you excited because other people are going to feed off of that energy. If you walk into a room and someone's sitting there, oh, this sucks. I hate this. I didn't get anything from this. You know what everyone else is going to pick up on? That. So I want to walk in a room and I want everybody to know I'm fucking stoked. I'm ready to be there. I'm ready for game time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that with my rituals, with my routines. Okay,
Yeah.
what music am I listening to? Generally Hollywood Undead or Eminem. It's my go-to for game
Naturally.
time. Yeah.
Naturally.
Like routines, so important. Get your energy up because when your energy is up, other people are going to match that.
Yep.
That's my happy space.
I love that. It's so important to make sure that you're creating that environment and that you're being around the right people that share the same synergy, the same energy, and they're willing to. You want to be around people that are not vampires. I don't mean that literally, guys. I don't mean don't.
Oh no,
like,
literally and figuratively. Don't hang
it's
out.
a metaphor, guys. Not. Yeah. Don't go hang around vampires. We don't. This isn't like a interview with a vampire type stuff. I mean, energy vampires. That's what I'm getting at. Energy vampires, people who just suck. They just take, and they don't reciprocate. They don't give back. It's exhausting being around those types of individuals. One of the things I had my clients doing is right now they're in the middle of buying back their time. They're in the middle of hiring an operations manager. And what I'm having them do, they're going to go through a couple different sets of interviews. But the first interview that they're having has nothing to do with the business. It's simply jumping on a call with these individuals just to see if there's even any energy there. Is there any synergy? Is there any magnetism? Are we even in alignment to even talk about business? What are their experiences? What do they love doing? What are their hobbies? What do they look for in joining a team? What do they look for in a team leader? What are their goals? What are they trying to do? What are their family dynamics? Just taking some time to understand where somebody's energy level is, where somebody's mindset is so vital. Whether you're bringing somebody onto your team, whether you're hiring or bringing somebody else in as a partner, whether you're looking for a partner, it's so important to understand how a lot of these things play such a huge impact on the business. Yet there's a lot of people I think that bring both partners in and bring people into their business out of scarcity and convenience. They don't ever take the time to acknowledge a lot of the things that we're talking about right now. What's that environment going to be like once you bring somebody who's scarcity minded or scarcity based or a vampire into your business? How's that going to affect the business? How's it going to affect you? How are you going to show up by operating that way?
It's like the way I think about it. I've got two different. My mind's going. It's splitting right now. The first thought is I think of it as like the water cooler effect.
Mm.
When you're working in an office or a gas station or wherever it is you're working. Let's use my pistachio farm.
Yep.
When you're in the back room and you're back there, one person's complaining. It's the water cooler effect. One person starts bitching and griping and moaning and complaining. Then your brain starts picking out. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm upset about that too, actually. I didn't know I was 10 seconds ago, but I'm definitely upset about that. And you know what else I'm upset about? And it starts just creating this negative atmosphere because you start doing it, and the person that comes and joins the water cooler, they start doing it, and then the next person comes and they're upset about something, and then this person comes and they're upset about something.
Yes.
One thing, let's circle this back around to my other thought. I read a book by George W. Bush, and politics aside, one thing he says is, I hire based on their values. You can teach them the skills, you can't teach them the values.
Mm.
And so when you put that into perspective, the first thing I do when I'm talking to someone is I want to know where their mind's at. I want to know what they're thinking, how they think, how they operate, what kind of things do they do in their relationships? What kind of things do they do with their kids? Like you can really pick apart those kinds of things. And just from that alone, I can decide, yeah, you know what? This is someone I want to be around. I want to be around people who prioritize their family. I want to be around people who want to excel. I want to be around people who are looking at, a rainstorm as a positive, something like that. Because if you're standing around the water cooler listening to everybody bitch and gripe, you're not expanding your network. You're draining your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think these in-person meetups are so vitally important, because you're getting into a room with people who have put their time, their money, their energy into preparing for this thing where they know there's going to be a high capacity of people. There's going to be people bringing their A game. And those are the people you want to be around. The people that are, I can't think of the last time I saw someone that was like, I'm going to pay a lot of money and be miserable about it. Like, I want to put my time and my money and my energy into something that's going to fuel me and amp me up. It's when we're hanging out at the water cooler, we're losing time and we're generally not paying to be there. When you invest in yourself and when you're putting your energy and your time and your money into something that you know there's going to be a return, most other people are thinking about that the same way. And those are the people I want to keep in my circle and be bringing in. I want to be like a black hole. Like I just want to suck in all the things around me that are like
We could have went with anything there. That was the perfect. A black hole.
I'm gonna be the black hole of positive people. I'm just gonna like suck you all in. You're stuck with me.
I love that. I love that. So, what are some key takeaways here as we're kind of wrapping up? And then we've got a few announcements that I want to go over with everybody. Carlin, what should everybody be taking away? We've covered a lot here today.
Okay. Key takeaway is I would say don't sleep on events. Take those if it's in your budget and you're receptive to it, take that opportunity. I will never sleep on an event again. Like if I could have been in Vegas and Miami, I would have split myself in half real quick. Like left side Carlin, go to Vegas, learn. Right side Carlin, go to Miami, learn. Take the opportunities, take the events, leverage those, because the people that are going to be in those rooms are going to be looking for the same things, but they have different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person has a perspective you do not have.
What a blessing.
What a blessing. That statement is undervalued for that concept. Like a blessing is like that's like tenfold blessings. That's like 120 blessings put into one thing. Like do the events, go meet the people, enjoy the things.
Mm-hmm. With intentionality.
With intentionality. Yeah.
I would add on to that real quick. I would never want or encourage anybody to take part in or do something that would put them in some sort of financial strain or detriment.
Pickle.
Pickle. There you go. That's a good word. But I have to say at the same time, just because I've been there. At some point, some of you guys, either watching this now or watching this in the future, some of you guys are not where you want to be because you are not betting on yourself enough. You're not taking enough risk. I'm not telling you to go get into all this financial strain or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you to challenge yourself. If you don't have the money to do an event or to go somewhere to do something, the first thing you should not be thinking is, well, I don't have the money. I can't go. And off the top of my head, I don't see how I can go about getting the money unless I get a deal done. Like, this is your opportunity to solve problems, to create problems. I had a client reach out to me yesterday because we were talking about operational manager stuff. And he's like, well, I don't necessarily see myself doing like a big volume of deals. And so I'm just trying to figure out like pay structure a little bit differently. Do I need an ops manager at this point? Or can I share an ops manager? And we were kind of dissecting that a little bit. And I said, dude, what I would not do, if you're not doing like a high volume or like there's so many different ways to go about putting things together so people are making money. But the way that I do it doesn't necessarily mean that's the way that you or anybody else has to do it. And so what I would challenge you to think about is, if you're not doing a high volume of deals and just wanting to pay people from those deals, what I would not do is, the very first thing I would not do is put myself in the position where I'm now underwriting all the deals, because I'm not doing a high volume of deals to pay an underwriter or an operations manager to take care of those things. So I would find a way to structure something to bring somebody else in to go do the thing. I'd be willing to go and take that risk and bet on myself of finding a solution to that problem before I bring myself down here and say, well, I can't figure it out. I don't have the money. I can't do it. So I'm just going to come down here and just going to wear all the hats again. You're missing out on an opportunity. The reason I have a lot of my clients, all my clients actually, shoot for these 10x goals is because when you shoot for 10x goals, you are solving problems of that caliber. Your learning and expertise become that of that caliber, as opposed to just figuring out how to do things down here. And so I just wanted to add that on with what Carlin was saying. Like, I love that you said, if you can afford it, like, make sure you're going to these events. But even if you can't, I would take it a step further. Shoot for something, make a goal, have an objective, something that's just beyond your capability, something that's just going to stretch you and force you to figure out how to solve that problem, how to get a little bit creative with these things. Because being able to solve just that problem doesn't just begin and end with solving that problem. You're going to be able to take that same level of thinking and apply that to so many other things that happen in your business. Best thing I ever did was bet on me. The first mentorship I ever paid for was $23,000. Max out 2 credit cards to do it. I did not see a return on that investment, but I learned a lot. And had I not taken that leap, I would not be here today. So it forced me to be in a position to figure out, how am I going to pay these credit cards off now? Because what I paid for isn't going to get me there. So just food for thought. I want you guys to kind of chew on that. As we're wrapping up, we've got a couple announcements real quick. It is 3 p.m. exactly. So Zach Bush, for anybody who knows who Zach Bush is, amazing individual. If you don't know him, definitely go follow him. Lovely individual, wonderful man. He runs underwriting Zooms every single Friday at 3 p.m. So it is starting right now. So go into the growth code Facebook group, and there is a link in there for you guys to register, and then you can go ahead and join right now. So if you guys want to learn more about underwriting, go join his Zoom. If you guys have people on your team that don't know how to underwrite or they want to strengthen those skills, go join his Zoom. So there's that one. And then Carlin, tonight we have book club. Talk to us about that real quick.
I'll just go over it real briefly because I do want everyone to have the opportunity to hop into Zach's underwriting Zoom. But we are wrapping up the book Surrounded by Idiots. Ironically enough, it very much coincides with everything we've talked about today with networking, building relationships. The book Surrounded by Idiots talks heavily on understanding the different types of personalities and how to connect with that type of personality. Because much like Jesse, you and I are very much like yellow, green type people, very high energy, high strung, like very adaptable. Our type of personality does not always necessarily jive with like a red or a blue type personality. And so having to learn to understand how to adapt, be able to communicate in this business, especially, it is vital to understand how to build relationships with every type of person and how to communicate with every type of person. And that's a skill I personally find myself working on daily. Jesse, I know you do the same. The book Surrounded by Idiots is a great, great starting point to be able to start referencing those perspectives. And we'll be starting that at about 5 p.m. Mountain Standard. For those of you in Eastern who speak the normal time zone, that's 7 p.m.
Love it, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Thank you again, TGIF.
TGIF, bro.